I wish you all a wonderful day, folks. Great to have you here. Welcome to the next video. Today we're going to talk about polishing again, and you really want to be well informed. That's why we're going to take a look at the Woolpad today. And this is especially for those of you who are really struggling with very severe paint defects. Let's take a look. I'll give you all the info. What should you pay attention to? Because this is a whole different ballgame compared to regular foam, so all the info is in this video. And now we're going to take a look at the roof here, and what kind of damage is on it. I wouldn't wish that on anyone out there. Ceiling light, LED tunnel show damage. And I think you can already see it here with the regular ceiling light and LED light tunnel that the surface is really badly damaged. We can also go back to the areas we worked on in the last videos. Do you recognize this lighting situation? And it's ideal for dents. We're going to learn something else in the video right now. But this light isn't really perfect for recognizing paint defects. But you can still see that if the damage is severe enough, you can see it even with the light. But if we switch it up now, it looks completely different. And that's why I'm taking you along. Just switch it up now. Got it. So, and now, this is going to look completely different. So here we really have ultra paint damage. So it's really massive. I think, in reality, that's like 10 years of car wash, and I believe it's also the worst car wash you could go to. So it's really extreme, the amount of damage that's here. What do we have here again? The paint is already coming off here. So the vehicle has really suffered a lot, and you can see here the damage is extreme. It's absolutely amazing. And to fix something like this, you can of course work your way through all the different foam options. But now we're going to use the Woolpad to really see how far we can get with this type of polishing pad and what we should pay attention to. 1,000 here again from the last video. That's why I'm brand bound. I can show and do whatever I want. Laba Cosmetica, Leal, and Audacia. Feel free to check that out again in the last video. I'll link it for you again here to the 75mm Absolute Room combo. But to mix things up a bit, let's go back here. Today we're going to grab this selection here. So we're going to test the combination now and see if this will be our typical two-step system again, here with microphase. Let's see how far it goes into the finish. And if there's still a little haze, we'll just use the Ultra Fine Cut here. But the pad really knows what it's doing. Let's go. Let's take a look at this and see what the Woolpad can do. First of all, let's talk about Woolpads in general. This is the strongest pad. It has the highest abrasion. That means if you're working with this, please only do it if you already have some experience with the foam pads. You can start right away with it, but the risk of removing too much paint is really high. 1,000. The next thing is, when you're working on a vehicle, get yourself a paint thickness gauge, NextDiag, Atari, and everything else that's available. Measure the area beforehand if there's only 95 microns or 90 microns left. And you've already measured here in the door inner area to have a comparison value, which I've also shown you in a video before, and you notice, oh, it's really getting tight here with 1,005 to 10. Then I would really think about whether I want to take a huge risk here, because you're really removing paint here. This thing has really 1,000 power. This Woolpad has the advantage that it can dissipate heat very well, even in the structural area. This means not only have the hole in the middle, which helps maintain the patch tension a bit. If there wasn't a hole in the middle, we know that with a random orbital polisher, the heat moves inward. So if the heat builds up in the middle, it obviously wants to escape. So it goes out that way, and once in this direction. And the pad can't move away because you're pressing down from above. This means that at some point the pad will stretch upwards and downwards, develop humps, and at some point it will fly apart, or the Velcro surface will come off. That's why you have this hole in the middle, so that the pad can relax here and also do a little work. And you know, I always give a little bit of instruction because the beautiful art videos are on Instagram or TikTok. It's about you wanting to learn, wanting to take in as much information as possible, so I need to explain a bit about it. This pad and the structure up here will flatten relatively quickly. When you spread the polish, the pad fills with polish, requiring a blowout or brushing. Divide it into 4 parts. Blow out the pad, otherwise the fiber flattens and loses power. So, after working on a roof area, I would divide the roof into 4 sections, and to one section, if everything went well, I would give the pad a good blowout. Otherwise, this fiber here will get completely flattened and lose its polishing power. And it only performs at its maximum when it can still move around well. And when it's completely flattened, like a fully packed HP, then it loses its performance here. If you have a new pad, I also recommend blowing out the loose fibers here. It's completely normal. And now we're ready to grab the Servfaces combination, the Pre-Cut 12 Cut 4 Gloss, which is really the strongest tool in the Servfaces system. You can make a circle here, or you can put 3 dots. The rest, as always, you wipe off on the polishing pad. So you don't need to touch the polish with your fingers. The head is clean. When you go onto the paint now, check your machine, 2001. We're going back to level 1. You can also see that the stability is great. Look how it presses the paint down here. So, pads are just great. What keeps showing up again? What should I say? If you notice that your paint is really extremely rough and it's not moving smoothly, you can also do this on level 2, because then you'll have an even greater gliding or running effect. Look over here. Now let's go up to level 4. The polish is spread out, and now we're going to speed it up so it doesn't take so long. Now we're going to do 2 or 3 cross passes. So, we've now found our setup here with the DA9 Pro, the Woolpad, and the Pre-Cut. The machine is fast and provides even coverage from left to right, up and down. Ensure perfect coverage to avoid missing areas and wasting paint. And you can see it nicely and evenly from left to right, up and down. With this, you actually have the perfect coverage. And you don't want to miss any areas to avoid wasting paint, because then you'd have to go over it a second time, or you might forget some spots. So make sure to go over it evenly. Divide it into areas of 50 by 50. So, you can also go a bit larger with the area, that's totally fine, and then go over it nice and evenly with medium pressure, and first see what that has achieved. Because this is really a very, very powerful tool. So, take it easy. So, in terms of temperature, I'm showing you here again that the pad is 0 smoke. There's really no strong heat buildup. We still have a reasonable heat buildup, but it's not running too hot. You can also see here that the polish is just lightly dusting. One small downside of many heavy cut polishes is that, but that's not really a problem. You just have to live with it. Blow it off and go over it with a dusting agent. Otherwise the pad held up well. You can also see here that it hasn't gotten sticky yet. You can still nicely set up the structure. That's why you should also brush it out every now and then. Or if you notice that it's getting stickier and stickier, just blow it out again here. So, I think you can see it well. And you can already see here how the fibers are standing up completely again. So, that's very, very easy to do. But please do that somewhere where you have a vacuum or outside. It's not about constantly fogging up the room. Now here for the short action, that's fine for the video, but if you're doing this for a longer time, please make sure it doesn't all end up in the room. Now let's just the test. That was, as I said, always our test spot, which you might already know from the last videos. And I'm just going to polish out part of it here. As I said, the dust formation is still okay. I don't think it's excessive yet. There are polishes that dust a lot, especially with a wall pad, extremely, extremely quickly. Then the whole car is completely full, but it's really still within limits. I would define it as little. So, now, after 2 cross passes, we have the following picture. So, we're going to use the lamp again right away. Let's first take a look at the ceiling lamp area. You can see here, we've definitely gotten some of the damage out. These are really deep issues. I'll leave the tape here again, and it's also right in the middle. Here you can see that there's always a bit less pressure at the edge, and then it gets noticeably less. You can also see here that everything still looks a bit cloudy from the shine. But then we'll make it nice again afterwards with the finish pad. And now I'm going to divide the area again, and now I'll show you how I do it right with this combination. But it just takes a bit of experience. Get a feel for it? Feel free to do another round or 2, go up to level 5, and keep increasing the pressure. Feel your way into it. But you can see what 2 cross passes on level 4 with medium pressure can already achieve here. But that's not enough for us, of course. We want more. So, after briefly spreading it out, just work the polish in a bit more if you've added a few more spots, and then you can really crank up the speed here. The machine is now running a bit brighter than during the first pass, and even though it's in time lapse, you still want to go over it evenly without slowing down too much, because then the heat builds up really quickly. High abrasion, save time, defects. But you also want to save a bit of time, otherwise you wouldn't have bought such a pad. And you also have very, very serious defects here, and in my case, and I hope that for you, it comes out as well as possible. Or at least 90%, 95%, maybe even 100%. But this is definitely the strongest weapon. And if you want the absolute maximum, then you go from there in that direction to 15. And that's the absolute final stage. But we'll look at that in a later video. So that already looks really good. Look at this polishing pad. It's really warmed up nicely, but we didn't overload it massively. So really the temperature is very, very good. The paint looks good here too. The polish is dusty. 1000. Still, you can see it very clearly in the back. But with the very, very strong cut pastes, it's just a phenomenon that comes with many polishes. And we're going to go over there as well. We left a nice 3-section area. The tape, because I definitely still need to do some finishing now. So let's look again. And I think you can see it clearly. Look at that, wonderful. We have a very, very light haze in there, and feel free to write in whether you like this type of video, or if you say, no, Sebastian, make it a bit more compact, make it faster. Not so much information. You're overwhelming me. Feel free to write it down below. I can happily change the structure of the videos a little bit according to your wishes, but it's important to me that you take as much as possible with you because, as I said, you can see nice before and after pictures on other platforms. I really try to make it as detailed as possible for you. Now we're switching the pad here too. If it's no longer needed, just blow it out and then throw it in the wash instead of letting it dry out here forever. We can do it again, just so you can see it. So this is the rough pre-cleaning, and look how nicely it brings everything back up. So you can now work wonderfully with that. Now the finishing is simple. Use the right finishing polish and pad. This medium pad from CHEMICALWORKZ will help. If there's dust, use a dust brush. This one here is the medium one from CHEMICALWORKZ, and it shouldn't be a problem at all. It should look great again. As I said, if you have a bit of dust formation from the cut polishes or grinding paste, then definitely grab a little dust brush to help out. I'll link it for you down below if I don't forget. And that's especially important when you, for example, you've already polished that side, just go over it with the dust brush. Done? Then just tap it out or blow it out. Done. So, topic is dust. Yeah, annoying, but not a barrier with the right tools. So when we move over now, we have a really nice, juicy blue. Now we're going to go over here again, and it's getting a bit milky. And here we have our first spot that we polished again, and here it is original. So I think it's easy to see, look here, very, very clearly. So I'm switching back to normal light, and I hope you liked it. You could take away a little something, and especially now on the topic of the Woolpad, that really has the most power. But here's a tip for you out there. You can still steer it very, very well. You saw I'm not just ripping the paint off completely. It always depends on how you handle it. Just like with the foam pads. Of course, if you apply a lot of pressure and use a very high speed, you can achieve a lot. But pay attention to the speed when you take the pad off here, and it's smoking like crazy. You went a bit overboard, like for example, in our last video, I'll show you that again at this point. Intentionally exaggerated, but you saw in both rounds, even in the second round at level 6 and with good pressure, the temperature stays well within limits because the pad is simply able to distribute that temperature nicely within itself. That means not everything is stored so specifically. If you stay in one spot for minutes or in a small area and just keep working with full power, eventually the temperature will rise. Of course, but you also saw what kind of temperature a pad can handle. 1000, what it takes off in terms of damage because that's really extreme. I also need a few remaining damages for other videos for you here. What's important with this type of material, whether it's microfiber, which we'll also take a look at, this white fiber, or this wool, is that it's also a synthetic wool. Then always make sure to blow it out. Don't just keep applying polish. Polish it, apply polish again, so that it eventually gets completely clogged up, because if it's a smooth surface, the polishing pad really wears down a lot. That's why it's always good to blow it out. My tip, or if you don't have compressed air available, is to gently use a soft textile brush here, not a wire brush, but a nice soft textile brush to loosen the fibers again. Or my tip is, even if you've been polishing for a while, just switch to a second pad. So, you shouldn't just have one at home for such a vehicle. Now a lot of people also ask, I would work on the roof with this, on the hood. The doors are a bit tricky here. He will definitely work with it. So I would count on 2 for the vehicle. Always let 2 pieces cool down nicely in turn, clean them, let them cure, then use the second one again, and it's perfect. That should actually be enough for a vehicle like this one. Maybe 3. A larger one. That should be enough, depending on what you demand from the pad. But that worked wonderfully. Afterwards, you saw that, went over it again with the finish pad. In this case, it was the blue, the medium pad. For me, that's basically the ultimate all-in-one solution. With this, you can really achieve a lot. You can also use stronger polishes here. The blue pad can be used very flexibly here, And for regular paints, you can use it wonderfully for about 90% of the time, even for finishing. If you have a solid black vehicle that's very, very sensitive or has a very soft paint, I would recommend the black one that's also available, which you can use, for example, here now with 75 from the last video. But other than that, it's another two-piece combo, and now we're back to the point. Let's jump to the two-piece combo, cut, finish, cut, finish. What are we going to do with the other 3 surface polishes over there? Are you telling me, I stand by my opinion, you need a maximum of 2, at most 3 polishes, if you also include a real cutting compound. But I'm just doing great with this combo. Okay, you could add a medium polish here if the paint isn't as badly damaged as this one is, maybe saying to start with the medium, which might already achieve the finish, or you could use the medium strength polish and then the ultra fine one. But there are still 3 polishes in between. I can't tell you why. I don't need it, to be open and honest. For me, it's maximum cut, maximum shine. You saw it works, and if you want, you can also add the medium one. But do you really need all 5? From my side, not me. But they still worked really, really well. You've seen the pre-cut. Slight dust formation, but really slight. There are much, much worse candidates where the whole car is completely covered. But just as a note, you still have some dust formation here, even though it says low dust. Low dust doesn't mean no dust, it means low, and it was low dust. So that works. Thank you very much for watching. Wonderful pad for maximum punch, to put it simply. Feel free to give it a try. Start off slowly, but please work with the foam pads first, practice with them, especially if you're just starting out. And otherwise, I think there were a lot of tips about dust removal, like blowing out the tape. I hope it was informative. If so, I would appreciate a thumbs up. Until next time, if you have questions about polishing, I'll make another video for you. If you have topic requests, write them down. We'll use a different polish brand. Yours, Sebastian. So, if you have topic requests, feel free to write them down. And in the next video, when we polish again, we'll use a different polish brand. Yours, Sebastian. Bye guys. See you next time. Your Sebastian. Bye guys. See you next time.